All right, welcome to Tinder Under Review with Sam Dwayne. That's me. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about what Tinder is. I'm going to talk a little bit about how Tinder got started, its beginnings a little bit. We're going to look at some demographics, some statistics. I'll say some positive things about it, some negative things. And then I'll give you some risks to look out for when using Tinder. And then I'll give you my advice for navigating the jungle that is Tinder. So, kicking off. Just raise your hand real quick. Who here knows what Tinder is or is familiar with the app? Okay, now keep your hands up if anyone has ever at one point had a Tinder. Oh, that's my boy right there. Okay, so seems like we're pretty familiar with it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So when you're making a Tinder, first thing it's going to do is ask you a variety of questions, whether you're a man or a female, and also actually Tinder has 37 options for Tinder, so progressive. And it's going to ask you what you're looking for in a relationship. Now, while Tinder is kind of seen as a dating service right now, the creators actually thought of it as just a way to connect with people around your area. But as we know, it's kind of come to be known as a dating service. And who here can tell me what it's actually kind of become known for in our generation? Oh, come on, no, Brittany.
A hookup site?
Ooh, that's right. Hookup site. Okay, so when you're making your profile here, you're going to put in your name, your age. If you turn your location services on, it'll have how many miles away from other users you are, and you'll be able to see how far away you are. There is an option for a bio, 500 characters, but let's be honest, nobody cares about a bio. And I'm just being real. We've established it. Okay, so now, once you get swiping, you'll be able to swipe right or swipe left. If you like a picture, then you swipe right. If you don't like a picture, you swipe left. If two users swipe right on each other, then it gets a match. And then you can come over here into messages, and you can shoot your shot with that. Good luck with that, everybody. It's a real fun time. Now, looking into Tinder's beginnings and how it really got started, it got started by these two guys right here, Sean Rad and Justin Mateen. Now, they were two college kids at USC at the time, and they were just coming up with ideas. Originally, they were sitting there with a deck of cards, and they were just flipping through them. And he was like, you know what? We should do this, but with people. And then his friend was like, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm not sure if that's actually how it went down, but that's how I imagine it. So it was founded in 2012, and Justin Mateen, who was currently in a frat, you knew one of them had to be, used his Greek connections to leverage the Greek community all across the U.S. So they basically got this jump started in Greek households all across the U.S. and on college campuses. And that makes sense because in the beginning, 90% of its users were in college age, 18 to 24. But then very quickly, after 17 months, it changed. And only 50% were between the ages of 18 and 24, and it had expanded into different demographics. The actual heaviest percentage users are between 25 and 35. So if you're looking for an older woman or an older man, there you go. Now, when the creators were originally looking to make the app, they actually weren't thinking of a dating app. Actually, they were thinking of how they could make a game that would become highly addictive. And Tinder works on the same basis that a slot machine does. You know, how many people here played a slot machine? Okay, a few people. You know, when you keep pulling it, you might not get a winner, you might not get a winner, but you know if you keep pulling, you're probably going to get one. Same thing with Tinder, but there's no downside because you don't lose money. You keep going through it, eventually you're going to get a swipe, and that's going to be, or a match, and that's going to be important because I'm going to come back to that later on. We talk about some downsides to it. So, just to look at some demographics and statistics, Tinder is available in 190 different countries, and it has 50 million users worldwide. That actually seems pretty low when you consider it's worldwide and in 190 different countries. 62% are male and 38% are female. That is not very surprising to me, honestly. When you look at age demographics, the second largest age demographic is still 16 to 24, so college age, high school age. So, the largest is actually at 41%, 25 to 34. My apologies on this graph, it's a little fuzzy. 15% are between 35 and 44. 4% are between 45 and 54. And then 1% are between 55 and 64. I ain't gonna judge, everybody needs love. So, moving on, I thought we could make a little game out of this. I have some statistics on the relationship status of Tinder's users. So, I'm going to start it off. There's going to be 4 categories: single, relationship, married, and divorced. Out of 100%, how many people say? What is the single percentage? Let's get some numbers.
80.
Throw them out.
80.
80.
60.
60. Okay, any other guesses?
75.
90.
75? Okay. 54% are single. Now, moving on. How many are in a relationship?
Oh, very.
No, I think
35.
80-40.
Okay. 12% are in a relationship. We're sitting at 66. How many are married, everybody? Oh, come on.
20?
Yeah,
15.
33.
30% are married. All right, and of course that leaves 4% left for divorce. All right, now there are multiple reasons why people are on here. Obviously the single people, they're out there looking for love. 12% are in a relationship and 30% are married. Now, this percentage, the reasons you're on there can vary. There have been people who have admitted to outwardly looking for an affair. There are people who have just said they're looking for a little bit of excitement outside of the relationship. They want to talk to somebody. You know, people do that, I'm sorry. People do that. And then there was a large percentage that, let's just say, we're looking for a very open-minded third party. Moving on. Now let's talk about some of the negative effects that Tinder has on its users. So like I said before, the creators were trying to make a game, basically, with the slot machine. It's an addictive behavior. As you swipe through it, just the habit of being on there and swiping is addictive. Now when you do get a match, naturally the same way you get dopamine when you get a like, or you're off doing something you enjoy, it's going to give you a little bit of dopamine. Even if you're a very calm, collected person, you think it's not going to affect you, when you get a match, there's a part of you that's just kind of sitting there, it's like, damn, what's not to like? But, and you can see how that kind of forms some bad habits, because then you get on there and you start to crave that and you form a dependency, and that's never a good thing. Now, leading into my next point, let's flip that situation. Let's say you're on there and you're swiping, but now the Tinder well's running a little dry. Oh, the matches just aren't coming. Now you're sitting there thinking, well, I might be ugly. And actually, looking at the American Psychological Association, they actually surveyed 1,300 college-age adults around the U.S., different colleges, different areas. And how they did it was, when they asked the survey, they'd go through with questions. They didn't tell them what the survey was about. They'd ask them questions that related to their self-worth and their self-perception of themselves. So what do you think of your hair? What do you think of your body? What do you think of your own personality or yourself? And then at the very end, they asked them if they use Tinder or not. Every single person who surveyed and said that they used Tinder reported cases of lower self-esteem and lower cases of self-perception. So imagine that the app where you are basically judged on the pictures you put up causes lower self-esteem. Yeah, who would have thunk it? Okay. Moving on, let's look at some positives, because there's negatives and positives to everything. 80% of Tinder users are actually looking for a meaningful relationship. Given that 54% are single, that's a little confusing. But, like I said, Tinder users were intending the app to just be made so you can make connections elsewhere. And there are a much larger percentage of people on Tinder looking just for friendships or to find something on there. And I mean, I can see that. If you're in a new city or you move somewhere where you truly don't know anybody, I mean, it wouldn't be my first option, but who knows? Everybody's different. Also, there are 26 million daily matches on Tinder and over 1 million dates occur every day through the app. That was actually a crazy statistic to me. I would not think that 1 million dates occurred through Tinder every single day. So there is some cases of success. And I also found multiple reports of success, or people reporting successful relationships that have started through Tinder. The two owners, Justin Mateen and Sean Rad, both of them, when they went into it, there's a direct quote from Sean Rad that says, like, nobody goes on Tinder looking for love. You're going on there to have fun and to swipe. Ironically, both of them met their wives through Tinder. So it does allow you to meet new people. It's a positive of the app. Now, there are some risks that come with Tinder. Catfish. You don't know who you're talking to online. Nowadays, anybody can pretend to be anybody. Now, some of them are rather obvious, but some people are pretty good at hiding who they are, and they're able to disguise that, so you really got to be precocious in who you're talking to, especially if you ever want to meet up with one. Impression management. Now, this is basically the same thing as just everyone does this. It's a strategic effort to put your best foot forward and accentuate your best qualities. Everyone's going to do that online, but the problem is some people take it a bit further. I wouldn't classify it as catfish, because I think of catfish as completely pretending to be somebody you're not. Impression management would be, you're using photos that are yours, but maybe you're photoshopping them to cut out attributes of yourself that you wouldn't want. And you can see how that contributes to lower self-esteem. You're altering your image in order to improve your image with another person. And also you might falsify information on your bio, lie about some things. So that's something you got to watch out for. You never really know who a person is when you're talking to them online. Third and final, probably the biggest stretch, dying. Don't die. Now, everyone's looking at me weird. I'm just being real here. You don't know who you're meeting online. People are crazy as hell. And there's dumb people in the world. I know everyone's thinking, here, I'm not going to go meet up with somebody who's going to kill me. It's happened before. There's multiple cases of it, and that's something you got to realistically look out for. Crazy, right? So, now finally, just to give you some advice, if, after this presentation, you think you want to wander into the jungles of Tinder, do not take the app too seriously. Like I said, it's meant to be a game. It's not really meant for you to find a meaningful relationship. And honestly, the whole setup and the whole interface that it has, it doesn't really provide a way to make a meaningful relationship with someone, but it has worked for some people. Limit your time on it. You don't want to become addicted to anything, and too much of anything is a bad thing. So if you're on it, maybe just get on it once a day if you can limit yourself to that. Be careful when meeting people. Like I said, don't die. And watch out for catfish. You never know who you're talking to online. And then, obviously, don't let it distract you from everyday life. You might actually meet somebody on Tinder. I'm not going to say you can't. It happens every day. Obviously, when we look at some of the positives, there's a lot of dates that happen on Tinder. But it shouldn't distract you from what you're actually looking at in life and who you're actually meeting. So I think that's something you just need to watch out for. So given that, if you still want to go into the world of Tinder, happy Tindering, and I wish you luck. That's my presentation. My roommates laughed there.